I was thinking, so one shirt, like one thing is the way how I see it, I don't think we have too much uh to work in creating something new.
Mm,
Um I think we need to start like thinking more, and this is actually was the comment of Daniel when we start the process. Like and on what was the comment? He was mentioning some. You remember when he sent you some feedback? He'd say something about the methodology. I think he used that word, like to
Daniel,
think in.
yeah, yeah, methodology, but I forgot how
Yeah, but anyway, so
it
in this way, what I'm
went.
seeing here is not so much in building or doing more, but it's in understanding. Uh, so I think we are in the process of understanding, but I think it's now in the process of like then. So we are in the process of understanding from this opening. I think we should start like diverging and then finding ways to share what. So there is not, say, for instance, we have this practice on documenting. So part of this is this chat that we put somewhere. It's part of a body of work, but nobody's gonna follow this thing. True, that's not the purpose. So I guess part of what the work we need to do is like finding what is it we want to share um, with the crowd. So it's like I see as in the same framework to build community, to maintain community, and then to start sharing some insights from the 40 years of work. And that could be writing articles, but also then start creating certain videos, create artworks also that can be applied for expositions, more static works that are not live, that give visibility to the project. So that's one thing. And the other thing that it was reflecting based on our conversation yesterday, that it was for me as a dancer, as a choreographer, uh, like at some point when we were in PAF, I was trying to share like this need from me, like to work on the dance. Um, and so now we have been working on this. Uh, and I guess I mentioned this going back to the problem of why it's hard to work between dance and technology. Meaning, for instance, in our case, for me it was hard to share with you, like you dance, like you're a dancer. Like for me it was hard to share like how the relevance in our work that is very much situated with technology to slow down the process of the moving with technology and just thinking on the moving. So just in the dance as such, because we have so far the focus is from technology, is dance in technology. Um, and I'm sharing just this in this reflection that I think first is not a practice that the dancer has. Like when you go and study dance, like they are not really teaching you to speak out. Like you learn you learn on the dancing act, so on the movement on the moment. So you learn to on the expression of your body and so on, but there is not so much space to reflect and to use words and to write down your thoughts in a manner that are not a diary that is for you, but something that can be shared. So that's one thing. Like in the dancer practice, that's something that is not there. So when you have possibilities, like in our case, to share with somebody else who share part of the language, like with you, so you dance, but you come from a different place that I come, so you are willing to work, but because in our case, we also work a lot with technology. I guess was difficult for me to use word to convince you somehow of the need to stay in the dancing process, um, because it's not part of my of the things that I have learned so far. Um, I don't know if that. I mean, I'm using us as a case of use, but this I think reflects the media, the that intersection of technology and dance.
But
So in short, So in short, what I'm sharing is like the dancer doesn't have is not part of the practice of the dancer normally to
That I get, yeah.
one, like to, yeah, to just to put into words that they are not for himself or themselves. So when you have opportunities to do this crossover between fields, in this case, technology, the technologies want to listen, but then it's hard for the dancer to express or finding words that are convincing to shift the focus, because I think the whole point is like is about shifting the focus on not you, or like, yeah, shifting the focus on thinking on dance. That is something that is very abstract. It's not, yeah, I guess maybe that's the word. Like thinking on dance, like thinking, writing, thinking, reflecting, writing, dance. It's something that has, if you see historically compared with other arts, music and dance share that space. Is very abstract. While you compare fine arts or theater, you have a body of work of people who are writing. So, so I think that also comes from the fact, like, I don't want to extend too much on this, just to introduce it, but I think one thing that is key there is that in our case, like, or working with technology, if you think like at the end, at the end of the day, like for 100% in a process, you spend maybe 90% or maybe 80, 90% or more time on building the tools, building the things, like doing different kind of stress testing strategies to be ready to use the body, right? So the practice is really, working with technology demands so much, like the balance is not in balance. Is the time is consumed by making the tech ready in different ways.
Right. I see.
So
I mean, yeah,
maybe to
yep.
maybe to give, like, for instance, one example, I'm start thinking out when I see examples of people working, of dancers working, people that I found interesting, dancers working with technology in interesting ways. Often then you see it's the other way around, the balance is like they might use sometimes, I don't know, a camera or one. Sometimes there is like is more the approach is through techno, like techne, what you would call like from the Greek techne, as in they might use the projection and somebody start typing, the dancers start typing, or there, I guess, other more straightforward way of seeing this that I'm saying is plastic arts being used as technology. So say a piece of clay, and then the dancer will start using the piece of clay as a technology, as a technological mean. So not a digital technology, but as a technical element to enter in a dialogue that is
Mm,
coming from the body. So I guess let me try to reframe this part that I'm trying to mention is that in these spaces that I found interesting, when there are examples with technology, say like say now in the case of digital technology, is very, very limited. Is like one element. Maybe it's light, maybe it's a sound, maybe there's just one light, maybe it's just sound, maybe there's a sensor or just one thing. So our things, yeah, are very limited, that allow for the body still to be more present, and I guess allow more time for research uh in as a counterpart than being the technology using 80% of the time to be ready for the dancer to try to communicate something. So there is like yeah, like from the place that we are coming from, the dialogue is not symmetrical at all. It's a big asymmetry in the technology being ready, and the dancer just trying to communicate last minute something that the dancer often, because also we are in a very different place, because you and me, we are programmers, so we know these things, but other people have no idea, and so they just enter. I mean, they have no idea of the ontology of the technology, so they just come and try to in a short time to establish a dialogue from a very asymmetrical place.
interesting. Very interesting because I I work fast, like especially with programming. Like I try like, but also that comes from the tool making that happens on the side. And if we're doing residency or if I'm working for someone, I wouldn't start with like building tools, right? I already have Hydra or some tools that are already there, so it's quick. Still, it takes a lot of time to put things together and refine it. But I try to like that's the rationale is that I or the intention is that I try to catch up with the speed of the movers because or the dancers because they
But
need
what do you mean with the speed of movement?
like the
Like,
speed
you mean,
is like the workflow because
wow. This is very interesting that you're mentioning it like that. I think with
yeah.
this we are touching something interesting because from my point of view, like the dance, like especially the dance work, like the theater with theater using words, I think is different, but dance, I think is really really slow.
Yeah, maybe it's a different perspective because it takes time. So you have to maximize the time you have. Like you can't just say, I focus for like 30 minutes and do the job that you would need 2 hours. If you need 2 hours, you need 2 hours. That's dance, right?
But who are you talking from the point of view of who?
Who's moving? Who needs the body
Like the
to
mover,
move her?
the mover.
Yeah. They can't just like accelerate this process. That's why I thought
No,
that's why it's slow, right?
it's very slow. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just like skip warm up and just do it. And it's not about the like a sport perspective of like physical perspective, but it's an embodiment and it takes time. And that's why I said fast. They are fast because it's actually fast was not the right word because they need to use time. And so this is more coming from my like, when I was like really like working as a programmer. If I'm programming and making other like dancers wait, then this is not going well because
But no, you are totally right. But it's not going well because of the. That's I think I introduced that. I think you should read that. Like that's what like Simondon speaks of the modalities of what is the name of how what is the word that he uses? I think it's not the modality, but no, yes, maybe the modality because I used. The essence. No, that's the word Heidegger used. It's not the essence, but the it's something like an essence. It's like say it's the essence, not the essence. There's a word that Simon uses, like the real nature of like or the ontological nature of techne. He's not using technology. Technology is a means for an end. So technology is like it's a narrowed down. Techne as something is something that encompasses scientific and anthropological position. So techne is very broad. Technology is narrowed down to a means for an end. So say from the point of view of techne, uh, so and then the technical object, then a specific like technical object, uh, the 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 essence. That's what he writes in this one of the seminal work that they are in this. There are not many. Is Simon Dong writes that the approach to technology often is very so is the problem it lies a lot that is very superficial. So I just like let's just get out of that thing that I didn't manage to share very well. But that in the case, for instance, of like the technician working with the dancer is because there is to share the essence of the technology. The dancer is far away from what is the technology for. Like the closest how the dancer relate is to using Instagram or I don't know what. Like the email is just a master slave relation using the technology for with a purpose.
yeah,
So
yeah,
uh, I understand for you as a technician, like you have to be ready to give something for the dancer to try things out, because the dancer doesn't really, and normally in this process, that I guess ideally will be to slow down. The production cannot slow down to enter uh, a dialogue.
Mm.
It's difficult. Say, for instance, you and me, we know what we're talking, but it's just now we have problems in trying to communicate these things, and we're working together for 4 years.
Yeah. Right.
So, but one of the notes that I shared, that I want to share, is that I put while you were saying speaking, is that, so I think, speaking of time in those specific framework, it seems to me dance is what to speaking of time in dance is almost, I mean, one can say that it is not linear, but I will even argue that this doesn't exist time even, like, you work, I mean, you are very flexible with time, and then maybe you stop, like often there is not really a purpose, like there is more like, you it's coming from poetics, from poiesis. Dance comes from this very fact of poiesis that I cannot share what is somehow, but it's just something that is in nature, it entangles in time. And so, just to say, like, I think dance normally is not, there is like this idea of time doesn't work too much, or even goal oriented, like there is not really a goal or purpose in dance. I mean, of the dance that we're speaking. Well, if you put like the technology in these frameworks, often it has a purpose. They hire you to do something quote unquote creative within certain categorical parameters. So even though you have freedom, there is a purpose and there is time. So that's why I guess it's not a surprise for me when you said, like, I work uh very fast.
Yeah. 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 Fast, not to catch up with them, but so so that it's, I don't know how to say. But I like what you said about time because like machines, they have this internal clock, right? Like CPU runs with
Mhm.
the clock and it's linear. It has to be linear. I
Yeah.
just thought like there's something about it. Also because our performance, we have a clock that
Mm.
we will talk about it again and again probably to think about what we can do with it. But I think that's an interesting thing to as a food for thought about what you
Because
said.
I think like to make this more complicated, you don't have to speak too much on that, but I think from my understanding of like machines, or seeing the machine as an entity, that it has its own intelligence. Um, uh, we need to give a space to, I mean, so far, say, like, the machines translate into the language that we speak, right? So then we can communicate with the machine, but we are not doing the other process of understanding somehow of how is that the machine exists. And this might sound a bit metaphysical or something, but I think, I mean, coming from this conference of the politics of the machine, I see
Yeah, I
that
thought about it.
it is not so crazy as it sounds, especially when we start speaking about artificial intelligence and thinking more in the future. It's important to start understanding that we cannot be, so far the relation we have with technology is master slave. So that's why fears from humanity, of like when they speak about of general AI, is coming from the place that we as masters feel that then the machine will be the master and we the slave, because we cannot understand what the machine is doing, and so on and so on. It's coming from this binary relation of oppression. So I think it's important to start finding how to allow or try to understand, or try to allow the machine to find its own language. And of course, the machine, depending on the machine, because even can be a small machine, but it is coming through this fantasy space that you speak, or like this ambiguous space that is not necessarily rational, that is in the interaction with the human, that the machine can then, I guess, explore its own thing, because it still will be a machine. So then I guess it will, I guess then you can start introducing into the conversation or questioning this idea of animacy, like the book that we at some point you share, like the animacy, what is to be like alive or animate.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I have um I'm very opinionated in that regard. I think like certainly like AI made it a bit more like relatable for humans to think about machines, but like you said, even I don't know, Raspberry Pi or well, this clock is not digital, but like anything digital, it does have some kind of I wouldn't say spirit, but yeah, animacy, let's say. And at one point, I think it was around 2000, well, like 2021, around that time, I was thinking a lot about this topic of like what is performative for a machine. And,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that, the machine is doing a lot of processing. Is that performative or like server just sitting all day doing random things or not? Can this be performative? This was kind of like a question I had, like performative for us versus performative for machines. It's
Exactly.
probably different.
Exactly, but I think you touched like something that's very interesting, because it's like wh what we speak normally is like from the anthropocentric perspective, no? Like it's the
Exactly.
performative for us. But I think that will be interesting then in the dialogue to start. Then is more about that ethnographic process, in situating the machine from where the machine comes from. Like what is the machine? What is the essence of the machine? And there are different constraints. So I think like this, I think you should read this work on the Simondon proposes, because you have Heidegger and Simondon at the same time, but I think Simondon is more, I guess, straightforward, certain things that are more relatable with engineered yeah, concepts.
Okay. I have like thousands of things to read, but I'll put it in the list.
No, but just read the abstract. If you just read the
Yeah.
abstract, like yeah, then you have a very good overview of what is. And I think this is part of like seminal work that they are creating in technology, like philosophy of technology. There are not so many. Like Simondon, there is this work of Simondon, a work of Heidegger, and some people write on top of them. But
Mm.
basically, this, especially Simondon these days, is very is yeah in I can see I saw it in, I was interested already before, but I saw in Politics of the Machine people constantly were mentioning this guy.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, by the way, like I'm really not like a fast reader and also like not enthusiastic reader, but this something I noticed is like, especially in academia, like writing is like it depends on your mood and it can be sometimes productive and sometimes like really not productive when you write or produce something. But like I noticed reading is something that if you spend, like it's um how to say correlates with how much time you spend with reading. So I try to like spend, I don't know, an hour or two reading every day so that I can process more and more papers. I mean, that's probably what PhD students do, right?
But that's something that Anton shared, like from Scott. Like he said, we were talking of these readings, and I was sharing things that I have been, I guess, actively trying to find historically in the last 2 years. And then he was saying that because Anton is in a very interesting place now, since he was forced to be in that place. Now he's writing things, and he's quite interested in finding this thing. Um, so he was sharing that Scott was saying that he was saying like nobody reads a paper, like just you just read the abstract, and 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 so Anton was like, especially in this when you have to go through different, I don't know, like through many papers, so people just go to abstract, introduction, conclusion, and then you say yes or not. That's
Sounds
that's what
like
I heard. That's what
sounds like a dating app, but yeah, I was thinking about uploading this part of the video. Like since we switched this, I think it's definitely should be uploaded. Um, so
but
I
we should
wouldn't.
we should upload it also. No,
Hmm?
upload it also like upload it. I will be I think it's interesting.
Yeah, this one I will
Um
do. Like the last one was like the
yeah.
office, and this one like we switched completely
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah. This one,
the
yeah,
normal
yeah,
chat.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
would
So
definitely. I'm saying that. So that's why like I don't want to say anything bad about people, but
I
yeah,
didn't
I
say anything, but this is just information that comes from like this is just information.
yes.
We just have to
Looking.
we just have to credit Anton for the information.
Oh, okay. As a source, we have to cite him as a source.
We are sharing, and actually we are sharing insights of Motion Bank. So I'm part of the Motion Bank thing. So it's just
I,
this is just sharing.
yeah. By the way, I will talk with David next week. David
Nice.
Ritterhaus. Yeah, because I was really
Yeah.
curious. Actually, I came across with his paper and I asked him if he can send me a PDF. He did it. And also we scheduled a call. So,
Interesting. Like do you know that he's a father now?
no, I didn't know.
Yeah, so yeah, just so you know, like maybe you can congrat him from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was in father leave for some
Okay.
time, and he's back
Okay.
like not too long ago.
Ah,
And
nice.
Anton was sharing something specifically on him, how he was how uh David was I'm keep on sharing this, but how
Everything from
David
Anton.
was. Yes. Like Anton said to me in the conference of politics of machine, that when we were speaking about, there was something about the loose and this concept of repetition of the loose and certain things. I mean, this idea of the loose and repetition is very much close to the concept of potentiality. So in the terms that you just repeat to distangle to make clear certain things. But there are things that they are not static. So they are just things that they are potential, potentially interesting somehow. Uh, so in this sense, then he was saying that David he don't subscribe to this at all.
Okay.
And that's interesting because especially coming from David come from humanities. So
Yeah.
I was finding it interesting because this is more like a common ground I see in humanities, like the loose and this idea of potentiality and repetition. So it was just a side comment of Anton. I don't know how to situate it, but it's just to share with the community that David Rittenhouse said that.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
much to say about that, but I found the article like I read it and I found it interesting because you know they're not coming from the technical, well, not the background because they co-author with you know I mean the motion back people are writing it, so they have also technical background, but the article itself is for the more like a dance research
And that was
journal.
David's article?
He's the first author, and Scott uh, this like the about the effect piece, like they did in
And
mine, like the Kunsthalle Mainz.
what you found that interesting, it was in regards to archiving or
Yeah, I wanted to read more about like the tooling. So by the way,
mm,
it's written by David, Anton, Scott, and Florian. And
the gang.
basically, yeah, the gang. Basically, it's more like kind of like how they recorded, how they made the tools, how they did visualization. So it's kind of full package of the whole project. And because I was more curious about like the part of like this effect player. I don't know if you know it, this standalone tool. You can send OSC or WebSocket so you can use it in processing. Because I
Yeah.
found this interesting, you know, it's kind of like it's not so versatile in a way that it's from the specific piece, so you can't really record your performance and use it in your player. but still it has this kind of communal aspect that because they wanted to open it up to anyone without the hassle of like connecting to the mocap, whatever. But I think they didn't really touch that following point in the paper. It's more about like how they did visualization from the team of Motion Bank. But or maybe they just don't have any use case from CCL participants or communities. I don't know.
By the way, I just send you now in WhatsApp, like the paper is called like on the modes of existence of the technical object, it's called.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. The abstract gives a very good summarize of what the paper is about.
Okay. Cool. Great.
Okay.
So thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Please don't quote me on
It's all Anton Koch, Herr Anton Koch.
my God. Okay. So I guess we will be in touch.
Yeah,
To see you
talk
next
soon.
time.
And I'll write the email maybe
Okay.
later today.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for
Ciao.
watching. Ciao, ciao.